Hello and welcome. This is Final Fantasy VI 80% New Game Plus. You might be thinking, Final Fantasy VI didn't have a New Game Plus. How is this a New Game Plus run? Well, we'll go ahead and show you. So we are currently in the world of Ruin. We have saved Shadow on the floating continent, which unlocks the dungeon Owzer's House, or Owzer's Mansion, which is normally where you would recruit the character Realm. We are going into this place specifically for one thing and one thing only, and that's going to be, in this next room right here, a set of revolving doors. And they're going to be right here. You hear them clicking, opening and closing, so on and so forth. This is going to be very important for the New Game Plus run, and by doing a very specific setup, those doors that are opening and closing, we are actually able to maneuver through and outside of the dungeon in such a way that the doors continue to open and close, even though we've changed maps. This is not intended at all, and requires frame-perfect buffered inputs to actually have happen. And some fun results happen as a result of this. If you take a look to the left there, you got Emperor Gestalt, and he's Ultros now. And there'll be other such things happening throughout the run, such as this letter that's here, normally from earlier in the game. You might notice as we walk out of town, some NPCs are normal, and some NPCs, like the guy on the left, just poof away. And with that being said, once you exit town and save the game, if you then reset the game, and select the save file with this timer running, and then back out and select new game, then the fun begins. So here we have our save file. We're selecting new game. So this door timer, which we will reference plenty of times throughout the rest of the run, is what makes this run entirely possible. What happens with the door timer, you'll hear it here, is that when that timer fires, it takes priority over other events that are happening. So we're able to, for example, skip past cutscene battles, like here. We walk around an encounter here. There's normally an encounter here. We're just going to clip right on past that. And it requires very precise movement. The timer has to fire at a very specific point right as you're approaching that tile. So I'm going to walk back and forth here to skip the encounter there. And I'm also going to walk down 2 steps and back up here to skip a cutscene that plays right as you enter the cave. So we are into the cave after skipping already 3 fights and a cutscene. And unfortunately, the most difficult skip using the timer is actually right here, where there's a cutscene that plays to open this wall, and then we have to manually time. There's no setup for this, you just gotta kind of wing it. And there we go. We have skipped the first boss, Welk, and we are on to the Esper in just over a minute. And so that's just the event interruption aspect of the timer, if you will. We're able to walk over tiles that would normally force you to do something, or have some sort of effect on your character, so on and so forth. So we do have an intro cutscene here, standard part of the game after you've defeated Welk. Vix and Wedge kind of get owned a little bit. Terra has no idea what's going on, and she'll end up in Arvis's house. Now what's going to happen in Arvis's house is normally what happens here is you talk to Arvis, Terra remembers who she is, you get to name her, and then you get chased out by the guards. That's not going to happen here. So one other aspect of the door timer, if you remember, there were 3 doors opening and closing, and on other maps, this actually maps to other NPCs, and one of the NPCs it maps to is the guard blocking the door, so we're able to just walk right outside, and voila, we are in the city of Narshe, which you normally can't access until, about an hour and 30 into the normal speedrun. So we're walking straight to the relic shop here. You actually start the game with 3k gold, so we're going to buy some sprint shoes to be able to walk fast through town. That's going to speed us up and move us along. This is a speed run after all. And then our second pit stop right out of the gate is going to be in the Narshe weapon shop. You might be thinking, what are we getting here? Well, this gentleman right here is the holder of the Ragnarok Esper, which he can make into a sword, which is probably the best weapon in the entire game. And there we go. Funnily enough, we actually don't want the weapon for its physical stats. We only want it for its defensive stats and other stat boosting. Because there are going to be some encounters in a little bit that we need to survive in. And being level, what, 3? It's a little bit rough. So for more survivability, we're going to pick up a wall ring, and we're also going to pick up 5,000 gold. That's going to allow us to buy some items we're going to need to complete the run here. And after picking up our wall ring and our money, we're going to go to the weapon shop. We're going to sell some sleeping bags to clear out the top slot and buy some smoke bombs so we're able to run from some enemies. And a set of 4 tents. Most of those are for safety, but we will definitely be using those in the future. So here you'll notice I ran around to the right instead of running straight up. That was to avoid a cutscene trigger that occurs when Terra is on the bridge. And so yeah, now we are running up to the top of Narshe, and you notice we're back in a Magitech armor. That's because I believe that status was never cleared, and so we just end up being in an armor. So we got a new encounter here. We're gonna run our way up to the top of Narshe. You'll notice sometimes as I'm running through here, like there's like a weird little shift in how the character is drawn on the screen as I'm moving along. That actually is the timer interrupting the actual step itself. And that's of minor importance, but it's just something fun. And you'll notice, oh hey, here's all of our Kefka and Narshe friends, and we are prepared to fight Kefka up here. Fantastic. You notice, oh, our party is Terra, and Terra. And now, we have our army of Terras to fight the Kefkas. So because we never recruited these characters, we've never seen these characters, not even in their Moogle form in the beginning of the game, all of these characters are uninitialized data. So they're all level 0 Terras. They technically don't exist. They only exist in the menu. If you can do a battle, they just don't exist at all. So one thing we're going to be doing here is an abuse of the timer. We're going to go into the menu to set up a buffer. And then we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps, go into the menu and swap characters. And we're going to immediately do this again. And by swapping characters on this precise frame, when we swap through our parties and redraw these characters, we're warped to the coordinates of the swapped party leader. And because these party leaders were uninitialized, we're warped to coordinates 0, 0. And on this map, that means we're able to walk completely around the entire Kefka and Narshe fight, thanks to the fun properties of this map. And we're going to do some other setup here. We're going to swap party leaders. That's going to set Terra's coordinates in that specific location. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the next map. That's going to reset the soldiers, as well as allow us to walk our second party down without Bandon dying or having to fight any soldiers and immediately dying because our characters don't actually exist. So we are walking our second party down here, and we need to walk this party down here specifically because in order to warp, we need the previous party to be on the same map. We'll go ahead and equip our Ragnarok and Wall Ring here. And then we're going to take another 10 steps here. Go into the menu, swap again. We've seen this trick before. Go ahead and swap through our parties, and ta-da! We are at the bottom of the map now. And we're able to go ahead and walk right out of town. And this will allow us to save our game, and will be the beginning of a lot of fun warps, which you've already seen just a little taste of. So we're going to go back into town, we're going to swap back to our other parties, and we're going to use the timer here to interrupt the actual map exit and set coordinates on real Terra here. She is the question mark of the party. And we're also going to set coordinates on the second Terra here. And these coordinates are going to be saved into slot number 2. This is going to be important later. And then we're actually going to go ahead and reset the game. And we want to actually load save 1 here. If you'll remember, we set real Terra's coordinates in that specific location. So when we come back into save 1 and swap our parties around, Terra is actually warped bound here. So we don't have to do all that walking through. And we can go ahead and continue on our merry way down into the town of Narshe. So a little bit of rinse repeat here. We've got another coordinate we have to set right here with real Terra, and we're going to do the same with fake Terra right here. We're going to go ahead and exit out. We're going to save this coordinate set into slot number 3. And then because we've set up our encounter seed and manipulated that in the very beginning of the run, which was not shown on screen, we're going to walk out of town here, and we're going to walk all the way to Figaro and not get any encounters. Even if we did get an encounter, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But there's no weird encounter cheats or anything on, it's just all seed and encounter manipulation. So, we have walked all the way to Figaro. The guard recognizes us somehow, even though we're blonde Terra. So we're going to take a little step to the right here, and we're going to go ahead and swap our characters. And we're going to go ahead and exit the game. We're going to save in slot 1, and then, very important here, you notice we'll highlight slot 3, but then we'll reset the game. And by resetting the game after highlighting slot 3, you remember I was talking about saving those coordinates. That's going to come into play here. So notice we saved the game outside of Narshe, and yet we're outside of Figaro. That's because the last world map location was outside Figaro. And here, we've warped through the jail door into the Cave of Figaro. You might remember this is something that happens in the World of Ruin. And this encounter right here is actually the biggest fail point of the run, and I will have to have backup saves ready to go if that encounter kills me. But thankfully the Ragnarok saved me here, and so I don't have to worry about it. I can just smoke bomb out of it and continue on. That encounter is very dangerous. Fortunately, it's going to be the only one we see in this cave. And alright, we've arrived at the turtle. It's a dead end. What are we gonna do? Well, we are going to save in slot 1. And we are going to highlight over slot 3 and reset again. And thankfully, that's going to allow us to warp past our turtle friend and continue on allow us to continue on in the cave. So we're swapping parties again. Remember, that's a carryover from Kefka and Narshe, and another thing that really makes warping around possible. If we weren't able to swap parties, then we wouldn't be able to warp at all. So definitely an important aspect of this run. Once again, saving in slot 1. This time we want the coordinates from the character saved in slot 2. So we'll go ahead and load that one. And this time, we walk back in, swap our characters around, and we are through the entire cave. We can step outside. Alright, a lot of stuff going on here. We're going to save the game. We're going to immediately use a tent, and because of the timer, we're able to interrupt the actual tent and walk down. And what happens here is, actually, by some complete and total fluke, the developers of the game left an event trigger for the floating continent cutscene on the tent screen itself. So if you're able to interrupt the tent event and walk one tile downward, you actually trigger this event. That just so happens to be there, and it's just a very convenient thing for this run and a lot of the Final Fantasy VI glitched speedruns in general. So we have the entire floating continent cutscene here. Normally this happens, after you've played 3 hours of the game of the speedrun, or probably in a casual playthrough, anywhere from 12 to 16 hours. This marks the end of the World of Balance. You'll notice Terra is present in all of these cutscenes. She doesn't care about falling into a hole. She's just chilling in the town of Jador. You might remember that from earlier. A little bit of fun stuff there. And there the continent goes, flying up into the sky. So thankfully, once we come out of this cutscene, you'll notice that all of our Terras were already on the airship. And that's going to allow us to have control of the airship in the World of Balance. Here we have our 3 statues, Emperor Gestel, and our boy Kefka. So Terra, and Terra are pretty distraught at the statues being rearranged. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna fly our airship. Just kidding, we're swapping back to the Figaro party. So here, we actually... Remember, we exited Figaro Cave. We actually saved in the World of Ruin, and by doing a little twirly whirl there, we're able to skip the Figaro basement cutscene. And our objective here, unfortunately, is to die. Note, we have no characters. This was a party of fake Terras, so oh no, we've been annihilated. Fake Terra number 2 does not approve. So you remember, we got to the airship, and then we died. So now we're in the airship, and our save was in the World of Ruin. So ta-da, we're on the airship in the World of Ruin. Now, a pretty, very precise trick here. We're going to trigger the Kefka Tower entrance cutscene and fly towards the town of Zen, all while walking up to interrupt the actual entrance cutscene. And then when we exit the world map, we're actually by the town of Zen. And this is very important because we need something out of this town in order to complete the game. Normally when you walk to Zen for the first time, Kefka's laser beam annihilates this house, but we skipped that cutscene. But it's obviously still here. Sabin's still here, just chilling, holding up a house. And you'll note, as this dialogue stops, there's a timer in the bottom right that starts. And now it's all corrupted. Oh no. So we're walking our party over here. Terra number 7. She's setting a coordinates for a warp later on. And then we go ahead and finish triggering the Kefka Tower entrance cutscene. And it's time to break into Kefka's domain. So this route was created by a Japanese RTA/FF6 enthusiast, well known throughout all of Japan, known by the name of Eddie. He's a great dude. He's done a lot of glitch finding and hunting for FF6, and he is a complete and total guru, and he's the man. And without this is his entire brainchild. Without this entire route wouldn't be possible, so even if this doesn't get accepted, I want whoever watches this to know Eddie's awesome. This is all Eddie. And you should follow him on Twitter or something. I don't know. He seems like a kind of personal guy. Anyway, so if you remember before, we'd walk a certain amount of steps after buffering in the menu and then swap our characters to warp. That's going to happen once again here. We're going to use this conveyor for a nice little convenient pseudo buffer. Go ahead and switch between all of our characters, and voila, we are right outside the final door. Would you like to know about save points? No, thank you. So actually going to do a safety save here. We have to survive 3 more encounters, which is the main reason we pick up the Ragnarok in the first place. We've got our Vectars here. Lucky us, preemptive attack. We can go ahead and run away. Even if we die here, not really that big of a deal. We just saved. We can just reload that save. No harm, no foul. And so we can't get into an encounter with this party, which is why we have to take the Vectars with party number 2. So we'll go ahead and do another safety save here. And we're gonna go ahead and grab another encounter right about here. Vectars again, and that's all planned. These guys, if they hit me, I'm dead. But fortunately, Smoke Bomb with the Ragnarok, that extra speed helping out. And so now, we've got party 3 here, fake terrorists. We're able to walk into this door here, and this coordinate in this corner over here just so happens to coincide with the door that's outside. And by doing something we haven't quite done before, which is swap our party members, but then interrupt the actual party leader being drawn by using a tent. It's the same concept as the swaps before, except the tent is doing all the work, not the timer. And voila, we are outside the final door with party number 3. But now we've got a little bit of a walk to do. This is definitely probably the most dangerous fight of the run. Ooh, a little bit of an extra step there, that's unfortunate. And so we have to get past these 2 dinosaurs, 2 Brontars, and a back attack's not gonna do it, unfortunately, so I'm gonna get wailed on. Oh, a block! Oh. Well, that's a little unfortunate. But fortunately, we did just save. A little bit of luck involved at the end here on the NA version. The Japanese version uses a Japanese exclusive glitch to essentially get infinite defense by equipping a potion as a shield, but we don't have that luxury, so we just gotta kind of trudge on through here. We're up against our Brontar friends again, and they're going pretty fast, but that Ragnarok's doing work with the defense, and that's gonna hurt a little bit. Alright, a little bit unlucky. No harm, no foul. Not nearly as dangerous as the very first encounter in the Figaro Cave, where if I do take a death there, then the run essentially is over, because the setup is all ruined. Alright, able to smoke bomb out of here. We are in the clear. And you remember the doors? Well, if there aren't enough NPCs on a map, the doors actually appear, and we're able to walk through the door, walk right through a wall. And once again, we are interested in setting specific coordinates. So coordinates for real Terra are set. We are actually going to die here. We'll go ahead and die with swag. We'll die with this poltergeist. Note that poltergeist was right on that tile there. You walk on that tile, you take that encounter, you die. But thanks to the power of parallel worlds, we are going to be able to walk right through poltergeist. So once again, we're swapping party leaders. We have to walk this party out because they need to be on the same map for the warp to occur. And then we are not currently actually in the correct world. Notice our Terras are not there. In order to actually get back to the correct world, we have to swap on through. We're back in the correct world. And we are almost done here. So we're going to go ahead and step on the switch. Swap party leaders to set coordinates on the switch. Walk off. Rinse, repeat. With this party right here. The final party. We'll go ahead and just walk this party onto the switch. And once again, if we buffer the menu and then swap parties by taking a specific number of steps and then swapping party leaders, we're able to teleport. And we're going to do that again here. One final party swap, onto the switch, onto the switch. All three parties are on a switch, doesn't matter which one. And we have reached the final cutscene. All the while, that timer in the bottom right is still ticking away. So we've reached the final battle with Kefka. Got a pretty lengthy cutscene here. Terra, 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 and Terra are here to stop this madman's plans. So you notice in this cutscene, the dialogue for each of the characters that Terra represents is going to happen here. So all of the characters that appear at Kefka at Narshe normally, so Terra, Locke, Celis, Cyan, not Shadow, Sabin, Cyan, and Gao, they are essentially here in spirit. Spirit of Terra. So we get our character quips here. Everybody's named and, of course. What else would they be named? Wow, all of you. I'm a big fan of this run. It utilizes a lot of glitches that pretty much anybody but the super die-hard fans of this game know about, and even then I feel like most people wouldn't know too much about what's going on here. So it's definitely a fun, mind-blown experience, I feel. So the cutscene here, finally about to end. We need to choose our final party. Let me think about this for a while. Do I want to take question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark? Or perhaps and. Oh. Time's up. I don't get to choose. And that's it. Kefka is defeated. We have won the game. That is time. Thanks to the power of the timer from Zen, if that battle gets interrupted, it's automatically counted as a victory. Even if the triggering event will be a game over afterwards, the actual ending cutscene overrides that. And so we have won the game. Trigger the credits. And that is Final Fantasy III US NA% New Game Plus. Hope you enjoyed.